Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a book that feels so familiar, doesn't it? Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice.
It really does.
It's not just some old classic, it's everywhere. Always topping those most loved books lists, sold, what, over 20 million copies?
Incredible numbers. And even if you think you haven't read it, chances are you know the story from a movie or a show.
Exactly.
So what we want to do today is go a bit deeper, pull back the curtain, look at the history, the society Austen lived in, because that really shaped everything. It's so much more than just a love story.
Right. We'll look at why the characters made the choices they did, how Austen's writing was actually pretty revolutionary for its time.
And why it still connects, why we keep adapting it.
Yeah. So our mission for you today is to get past just what happens, the plot, and really explore why it mattered so much back then and why its ideas about people, class, finding yourself, why they still hit home today.
Should be fun. You might find a few things click into place.
Okay, so let's set the scene first. Austen's England. She was living right in the middle of huge changes, the Industrial Revolution, roughly 1760 to 1840.
And this wasn't just factories popping up. It fundamentally shifted how people thought about money, about wealth.
For ages, wealth meant land, right? That was the aristocracy, the old family.
Exactly. Land was status, stability, tradition. But now, suddenly, there was this new money coming in.
From industry, from business, especially up north.
Right. And that created this really interesting tension. You had the established landed gentry and then this rising commercial class. How did they interact? Did they clash? Did they mix?
Austen just nails this dynamic, often in really subtle ways. Think about Mr. Bingley.
Okay.
When he arrives, he's described as a young man of large fortune from the north of England. Now, to us, that might just sound like a detail.
But back then?
Back then, that was a huge signpost. It screamed, industrial wealth, new money. Totally different from the Bennets, who are landed gentry, even if they're not super wealthy.
And the fact he's renting Netherfield?
Yes. That's key, too, isn't it? He doesn't own it.
It's such a telling detail about the times. A subtle sign that the old order was, well, maybe starting to crumble a bit. You had these ancient families, like the Darcys, still incredibly wealthy, holding on to their estates.
Right. The ideal was wise management, keeping the land productive.
But a lot of other landed families just couldn't keep up financially, the cost of maintaining those huge houses.
So they had to rent them out or even sell, often to people like the Bingleys, with this new industrial money.
Exactly. It's a sign of the times.
And here's something else interesting about Darcy. Even with Pemberley in that ancient name, he's just Mr. Darcy.
Not Lord Darcy.
Right. He's not part of the peerage, the dukes, earls, barons, the titled nobility. Those titles usually came from generations of, like public service or royal favor.
So what does that suggest?
It suggests that maybe, just maybe, even the Darcy fortune, way back when, might have started in trade or manufacturing. It kind of quietly blurs those lines we think are so rigid.
That's a great point. The aha moment there is realizing that even the oldest money probably started as new money at some point centuries ago.
Yeah, it's all about that constant dance between inherited status and earned fortune, which is everywhere in the novel.
Absolutely central.
And this tension, these rules, they hit women particularly hard. We have this image of 19th century women having very few rights.
Which is generally true.
But what blew my mind reading the sources is that women in the 14th century, like Chaucer's wife of Bath, might have actually had more economic freedom in some ways.
It's kind of a shock, isn't it? By Austen's time, things had really gone backwards for women, legally and economically. When a woman married, basically all her property became her husband's.
She couldn't control it.
Nope. Couldn't manage it, couldn't sell it without his okay. Legally, she was treated like a minor her whole married life.
Wow. Compared to medieval times when women could inherit property, run businesses.
It makes the choices facing women like the Bennet sisters even more stark.
Definitely. And that brings us right to the Bennet family's big problem, the entailment.
Ah, the entailment, yes.
Their home, Longbourn, is entailed, meaning it has to pass to a male heir. In this case, the dreadful Mr. Collins.
Leaving the 5 Bennet daughters completely high and dry when Mr. Bennet dies. Penniless.
And this wasn't some weird plot device Austen invented. Entailment was a real legal thing, designed to keep big estates together in the male line, stop them being broken up or lost if a daughter married into another family.
So put yourself in Charlotte Lucas's shoes. She's Elizabeth's friend, she's smart, but She doesn't have money.
And she marries Mr. Collins.
Exactly. And it's easy to judge her, but look at her reasoning. She says pretty bluntly that at 27, marriage to someone like Collins, even without love, was the only honorable provision for well-educated young women of small fortune.
And however uncertain of giving happiness, must be their pleasantest preservative from want.
Wow. It's brutal honesty. It wasn't about failing at romance, it was about survival. A reality Austen herself knew well as an unmarried woman depending on her brothers.
Okay, so with all that context, the changing economy, the entailment, the tough spot for women, let's dive into the story itself.
Right.
The main mission, at least for Mrs. Bennet, is crystal clear. Marry off those 5 daughters and marry them well.
Preferably to rich men. It's all driven by that financial insecurity we just talked about.
Which leads us to that brilliant opening line. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of good fortune must be in want of a wife. Apparently, the second greatest opening line after Moby Dick.
So they say. It's incredibly memorable, but the genius is the irony, isn't it?
Totally. It sounds like the rich guys are desperately looking.
When in reality, it was often the women or their families who were desperately hunting for a secure match. Mrs. Bennet's frantic matchmaking, her embarrassing moments, they come from this place of real fear. She needs her daughters to marry well.
Okay, let's talk characters. Elizabeth Bennet, we love her. She's witty, smart, attractive.
But flawed. As the original title, First Impressions, suggests, her big flaw is jumping to conclusions, forming these really stubborn, prejudiced opinions.
Easy to do, I suppose.
Very. And then there's Mr. Darcy, Fitzwilliam Darcy.
The ultimate catch, right? Rich, handsome, intelligent, owns Pemberley.
Yeah.
What's his income? £10,000 a year?
An absolute fortune back then. But socially awkward, reserved, comes across as incredibly proud.
Which is exactly how Elizabeth sees him at first.
Though, interestingly, his own staff, the people who know him best at Pemberley, they paint a very different picture. Kind, decent.
Which we find out later. But the initial clash is immediate. That ball where he says she's not handsome enough to tempt him to dance.
Ouch. That sets her against him right away. And her prejudice just gets worse, fueled by Wickham's lies.
Oh, Wickham, the charming villain.
And Darcy splitting up Bingley and her sister Jane. By then, she pretty much hates him.
Which makes his first proposal scene so dramatic. He proposes, but it's clumsy, kind of insulting.
Yeah, he mentions her inferior connections. Not smooth.
And she lets him have it. Rejects him furiously. But then, the letter.
The letter is the turning point. His explanation for his actions, defending himself against her accusations, it forces her to look at herself.
She realizes her own prejudice, her vanity, as she calls it. That moment where she thinks, how despicably have I acted? Till this moment I never knew myself. That's huge.
It's a core of her journey, isn't it? That self-awareness.
And Darcy gets his own moment of, maybe not redemption, but showing his true colors with the Lydia situation.
Oh, yeah. Lydia eloping with Wickham. Total scandal. Could ruin the whole family.
And Darcy steps in, secretly, pays off Wickham, saves the family's reputation, all at great personal cost, and doesn't even want credit for it.
That's the real Darcy. Quietly doing the right thing, principles over pride. When Elizabeth finds out later, it just flips her whole perception of him.
Such a contrast to Wickham, who's all surface charm, but underneath is just awful.
Yeah.
Squandered his inheritance, tried to elope with Darcy's 15-year-old sister for her money.
Classic Austen. Appearance versus reality.
We also have to mention Mrs. Bennet, of course. Silly, obsessed with marriage, constantly embarrassing everyone.
But driven by that desperate need for security for her girls. You almost feel for her sometime.
Almost. And then there's Lady Catherine de Bourgh, Darcy's aunt.
Oh, Lady Catherine. The ultimate snob. Embodies that rigid class system, wants Darcy to marry her own sickly daughter, tries to bully Elizabeth into promising she won't marry him.
She's terrifying.
These characters really bring the themes to life. Marriage, for one, it's not just romance, it's a social contract, isn't it?
Yeah, involves politics, money, security, and maybe emotion.
You see it clearly with Charlotte marrying for security, or Mr. and Mrs. Bennet. Their marriage started with attraction but lacked substance, leading to unhappiness.
But then you have Elizabeth and Darcy. They start with hostility, move through self-discovery.
And end up with a marriage based on mutual respect, understanding, real companionate love. That was kind of a newer ideal emerging then.
The happy ending we root for.
And underpinning everything is wealth and class. It defines people. Darcy's struggle to accept Elizabeth's lower connections.
Lady Catherine's horror. Will the shades of Pemberley be thus polluted? just dripping with snobbery.
And those subtle distinctions, too. Bingley's new money versus Darcy's old money, the Bennets as gentry, a step above the Lucases who got their knighthood through trade. It's all layered in there.
Beyond the story and characters, though, what makes Austen so brilliant is her style. How she tells the story.
Yes, that free indirect speech.
Explain that a bit.
It's this clever technique where the narrator sort of slips into a character's thoughts and feelings without using she thought or he felt. We see the world through Elizabeth's eyes, share her biases.
And then share her realizations when she gets things wrong.
Yeah.
It pulls you right in.
It really does. And it's funny because some critics at the time, and even later, kind of dismissed her work. Said it was just about trivial conversations and small doings, little domestic dramas.
But that was the whole point, wasn't it? Her genius.
Exactly. She deliberately focused on the everyday, the domestic, the supposedly feminine world, and showed that's where real moral growth happens, where a character is truly tested and revealed.
Challenging the idea that only big male subjects, wars, kings, politics, were worthy of serious literature.
She showed that who you are isn't determined on a battlefield, but in how you treat your family, how you handle money, how you judge others in these small, everyday moments. Like that writer said, a very little thing tries what a man is made of.
There's that great little example with Lydia Bennet and the bonnet. Remember that?
Oh, yes. Tell us.
She just impulsively buys this hat, spends money they don't really have on a bonnet she doesn't even particularly like.
It seems so minor, right? A shopping trip.
But it reveals everything about her. Her carelessness, her self-absorption, her lack of concern for anyone else, or even her own real desires. It's just about the momentary thrill of buying something.
It's pure character revealed through action, not description. Brilliant psychological detail hidden in the mundane. Shows her complete lack of self-awareness.
And to think, she wrote the first version, First Impressions, when she was only 20 or 21.
Amazing. And it got rejected by a publisher initially.
Hard to believe now. She revised it, and it finally came out in 1813. Got decent reviews, mostly.
Though not everyone loved it. Charlotte Bronte thought it was too contained, too fenced in.
And Mark Twain, he famously said he wanted to dig Austen up and hit her over the head with her own shin bone.
He really didn't hold back. Harsh.
But look at its legacy now. It constantly tops best book lists. The sheer number of adaptations is mind-boggling.
It really shows its cultural power, doesn't it? The range is incredible.
You've got the classic movies, 1940, 2005, the iconic BBC series from 95.
Colin Firth in the wet shirt.
Can't forget that.
Yeah.
But then also things like the Lizzie Bennet Diaries web series, which was huge.
And the parodies like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, modern updates like Eligible or Fire Island, setting it as a gay drama.
Even scientists naming things after Darcy or analyzing Mrs. Bennet's genes. It's just permeated everything.
It proves how timeless those core themes are, right? Seeing past surfaces, navigating social pressures, finding yourself, finding real connection. You can put that story almost anywhere.
So wrapping it all up, what's the takeaway 2 centuries later?
Well, I think Pride and Prejudice is just this incredible blend of sharp social commentary and deep psychological insight, all wrapped up in a story that's genuinely fun and moving.
Yeah, it reminds us that figuring ourselves out, connecting with others, it doesn't always happen in big dramatic moments. Often it's in the quiet stuff, the everyday interactions.
Exactly. Those seemingly trivial conversations Austen was so good at writing.
So here's something to think about. Maybe the next time you're reading a book, watching a film, or even just navigating your own day.
Okay.
How much of the real truth about people or situations is actually revealed in the small things? Not the grand speeches or big events, but the little interactions, the quiet moments, the unspoken social rules.
What are the small doings that are actually telling you the most about someone's character or your own?
A great question to ponder. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into Pride and Prejudice.
Hope you enjoyed it and maybe see the book in a new light.